The person at the back has to get to the front and just go through.
Yeah. Go for another 30 minutes on Instagrams. Yeah, and that it's pretty funny, that rally. They say only a couple hundred people were there. Of course they did.
Only a couple dozen people showed up.
Yeah. Not really that much. It's not really that interesting. But yeah, it could be. Nobody wants to go to the fair. They kind of turned that into a super spreader event before it could even become a super spreader event.
Is there I'm sure there's like a Star Tribune article probably about it.
Yeah, I do have some news articles about it.
Blaming everyone who went to the fair.
Yeah, right. Minnesota's the most infected with all the cases. It's all the cases' fault. There she is. I wonder what I would have to do to talk a girlfriend into stop putting her cell phone by her ovaries in her yoga pants when she walks around the lake. I wonder how that conversation would go. Hey dear, love you so much, but if you could just not carry your cell phone in your waist strap by your ovaries, that would be great. Okay? Just get that.
It's for your health.
Yeah, it's
So
for
you have to do it.
It's for my safety.
How you doing, man?
So, hey, what's
Hey,
happening?
the Earth is flat, buddy.
No.
Earth is flat?
Yep, for sure it is. For sure it is. Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah. Excellent.
No
Yeah.
complaints.
Earth is flat, let's go! Outer space isn't real. Any
How
guy
you
who
doing?
tells
Earth is
you
flat.
Any guy who tells you the otherwise, he's lying. Earth is flat.
What a great first date idea.
For sure.
Just coming to the table.
So have you guys had the conversation about flat Earth yet?
No, not yet.
No? Well, if he doesn't think the Earth is flat, then, I'm just saying.
There's a hill like over there.
Mm.
It can't be that flat.
Yeah. Any guy who tells you otherwise is lying to you, dear.
Hi.
Earth is flat.
Right. So you're
Outer
teaching
space
here.
is not.
Yeah.
Informing maybe.
What are you trying to teach?
Letting people know where they actually live.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They actually live on here. And it's not hurling through space at millions of miles an hour. Because we're not moving, we're not flying all over the place, right?
well, I don't try to figure that out.
Oh.
I still like my internet and my space.
Bluetooth and
No, I just do my internet for my basic.
Mm-hmm. Do you think satellites are doing that?
Aren't they?
No, of course not. That's ridiculous.
So what are doing it?
High altitude balloons and your ground towers. Because then the ground
really?
towers have fiber optics underground that come to
So
your neighbor.
they're deceiving us on that, you mean? Or
Well, you
did
just
I
haven't looked it up. Or you just
Oh.
said that you're busy,
Well, that's what I
going here.
thought.
Yeah. So if you don't actually look into something,
Like, believe me, I look into plenty.
okay,
I'm
maybe this is a new
Christian
topic.
And I do my own research.
Do you?
Yeah.
What do you think about the jab?
The vax, you
Mhm,
mean?
yeah.
I didn't take it.
Okay. Yeah. What about wearing a mask?
Well, where I live, I'm supposed to, so I do.
Mm.
But it's just,
When are you going to start saying no?
well, let me see. I don't know. I have to cross that bridge when I get to it. Let's put it that way.
Practice makes perfect, right?
Well, Jesus makes perfect.
Okay, so we're going to go that route. So you think
Yep,
Jesus would wear a mask?
definitely. I don't try to figure that out. I don't think he... No, like this one missionary was where the bubonic plague was, and they said, well, what do you take to protect yourself? He said, because of the law of life in Christ Jesus, that foam coming out of that person's mouth, that can't live on me if I walk in that spirit. So he said, put it on me. So he did, and they put his hand under the microscope, and it died. But everyone's different and has their different walks.
There he is. Earth is flat, buddy.
So
Yeah.
there's healing rooms,
Yeah.
it's just,
So you think Jesus would wear a mask in his complex because he has to?
well, well, I believe in transcendental, and I lean more towards that, and I believe that, what's an ozone doctor, do you know?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Well, isn't there something that they put in that vaccine that can track us or something?
I mean, I know that the makeup of vaccines, it goes against my moral compass.
Yeah, I have 4 daughters. One doesn't take anything for their kids of vaccines, and I didn't take it, and I just have enough to deal with the crooks in my place that I don't have to.
What if the crooks at your place say you need to get the jab to live there?
Is the jab the vaccine?
Yeah.
Well, I'm always narrowing down to move. I've been narrowing down to move ever since I moved in. So that's 10 years now. So the point
Sure.
it's dirt cheap. That's part of it.
So you think like all of that's happening on a globe Earth, and you don't think that matters?
I don't try to figure every single thing out. I lived in Israel. I was called to go there and went to prayer schools, England, Scotland, Jerusalem, and I never thought I was coming back.
Earth
To
is
stay.
flat.
But-
The Earth is flat.
So what makes you think it's flat?
Well, it's very simple. When water is contained, it lays level and flat at the surface when it's at rest.
Well, I don't know.
Well, of course you do.
No, I don't.
Well, it's
I mean,
ridiculous to think that enough water bends to make a ball in outer space. That's ridiculous.
Well, why would they make that up that that's true?
To make you believe something that's not true, and then you can believe anything then.
Irwin said he saw the tracks of the Jews when he was in the space thing. That's the way I remember it, but
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's ridiculous.
when he was up in the whatever.
Who was up there?
One of the satellite guys, or one of the, and John Paul Jackson, he called him and said, you can't take off in the Challenger, there's something wrong, and they didn't listen, and it crashed.
That was a hoax. It's not real.
Meaning in which sense?
Meaning that there was nobody on that rocket.
That died?
Yeah, nobody died on that. You believe that happened? Like
Well-
people died?
I don't know, I just never, I've got enough to deal with just in everyday deal.
Right, but I mean, I get what you're saying, but
I've
to
never-
passively believe
I've
things.
never questioned.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
you never question, most people would say yes, it happened then, because we're just easygoing people. It's just most people are developing into what they just don't have a backbone, and they can't say no to people because they don't want to offend anybody, or they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They
Well,
want to be liked
how
by
about
everybody.
like the trade towers collapse? What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they collapsed, but it wasn't for what they say it happened for. That's
What do you think?
ridiculous. It's just a psyop for control. Now you got to take your shoes off every time you go into an airport. It's just conditioning. Like super gradual conditioning is exactly what human beings need to be shifted one way away from their human nature to feeling like you can't even be in the same room with somebody
Well,
because they're going
that's
to get
why
you
I
sick.
like the Sid Roth, it's supernatural, where the supernatural is natural. That's why I like his people, because they always, they're transcendental on some things, and they transcend time and space. So when I was on a fast for a week, this guy, for the Gulf War, this guy that had what was described by the church a cult meditation house, he let me do it because he hated violence. Well, they wouldn't even, if I didn't fit in their box, believe me, I know about control. I mean, I had a dream, come to me and I'll pray for you. And this guy, the head of Loveline, said he believes he's the biggest expert on the occult in the United States. He said this submission stuff is witchcraft. And I know, like, different people, they'll say, yeah, on the internet, they are trying to control you. And so give yourself a break. But you know how you get information that you...
Yeah, I mean, I love reading, like, actual accredited news, because it feels like an onion story with the news that's coming out now. And even last year in the New England Medical Journal, it said, New England Journal of Medicine said that the mask is like a talisman. So it's like, just a security blanket. It really doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's been identified as like basically a political symbol. It's a tier symbol where somebody who wears a mask is almost usually the one to wear it because they love to wear a mask and they're vaccinated, so they're like super religious government zealots about it.
Yeah, no, I just do it so I don't have to talk to some of these people too.
I know, but that's just it though. You're even conditioned into thinking that way. Like that's not how we're supposed to be.
Well, no.
Because then you're perceiving it off to somebody else and like, oh, well, she's wearing a mask, so it must be okay for me to wear a mask.
No, it's very just in and out of the thing. I have to wear one on the bus if I want to.
No, you don't.
You don't legally have to?
Yeah, there's state and federal things are a medical exemption or religious exemption.
Oh, there are.
Yeah, it's federal. So if it's a federal mandate or federal whatever, and you have a religious or medical exemption, they can't, like, harass you. That's HIPAA violation. So, like, nobody actually knows their own rights. They just go along with it because everybody's
I'm sure there's a lot more to it than
wearing a mask. Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
So just start saying, no, I have a medical exemption. That works in all businesses. When you get to, like, work and getting a job in terms of a vaccine, you can go so as far as saying a religious exemption is like the ACE card for exemptions when it comes to vaccines, because it's a medical procedure that you can't undo. You can't detoxify your body from mRNA vaccines. You can't do it. So I can take my tinfoil hat off, I can take all my conspiracy things and put them over here for the night and go to sleep, and then wake up.
This woman, so you don't believe in Jesus as your savior?
Of course I do.
Oh, you do?
Why would you perceive that I don't?
Well, you asked if Jesus would wear a mask, and I just didn't think he did, but,
I'm asking that question, and a lot of people say, yes, of course he would.
So are you in any certain church box or denomination or anything online you enjoy?
I mean, I like the old pastors, like Charles Lawson and John Piper, John MacArthur, Leonard Ravenhill, Ravi Zachariah.
Yeah.
People like that.
Yeah. It's just, Sid Roth, it's supernatural, where the supernatural is natural.
Yeah, that gets into too much of, like, outer space and self-projection and things of that nature.
Well,
thanks for sharing.
When
appreciate you.
All those people that rose from the grave in Jerusalem at that time and were walking around at the time of Jesus, I don't try to figure it out, but I know.
That's happening right now. There are corpses walking around right now that are zombified. They wear a mask and are fully vaccinated, and assault me because I say don't get the Fauci ouchie.
Oh, so John Piper, these are kind of, I call it conservatives for me, but I'm all into, him fulfilling the Great Commission by. Yeah. But
Well, I mean, I think that there are certain aspects.
Whatever your calling is what I.
Well, I mean, I think that there are certain aspects of preaching that were done back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that isn't tolerated right now. There's a lot more inclusiveness in churches now, even with everybody has to hang out at the coffee machine.
Well, no, I visit these, but do you know who Rick Joyner is?
I've heard of him.
Well, anyway, he took over for the Baker place, and
it's not.
Years ago, he saw God took him to the third heaven, and he said, "Remember, that's the guy you persecuted down on earth." He said he was a disgrace to the gospel. He thought, "Oh no, he's up here." Who was it? He said, "Oh, he worked in the down and out with the down and out." And he said, "How did he die?" He said, "A martyr." And he thought, "Oh no, it has something to do with this too." And he said, "Oh, he was holding an alcoholic and trying to keep him from freezing to death, and he died with him." He said things were totally different up there than they are down here. But then before both things broke out, the race thing and the COVID, he said he saw history never like he'd seen it before. Liberty and justice for a few, not for all. He said, "I see something coming. I think it's inevitable." but I thought it could be stopped. I think it was that whole uprising with all the cover-up on not giving the right loans to, but they, how they can do it very subtly, to different races. But the thing is, and neighborhoods and stuff. But he said, I saw the best. Oh, he said it is coming, but liberty. And just, he brought out John Adams. My daughter majored in politics, and she liked John Adams. And he said liberty only for the religious. And, slavery is wrong. We'll send it back to Africa.
Remember to breathe freely.
Yep.
But
Just take a big, deep breath whenever you want. Up to you.
well, I will be more conscientious on taking it off. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
It's very interesting right now.
It's a witch's brew of Nazi ingredients.
Well, someone in It's Supernatural said they saw somehow in the spirit in China them rubbing that on people's clothes that they sent here and stuff.
Oh, all sorts of poisons and stuff, yeah.
Well, the COVID thing invented there and the whole thing.
Actually, I heard it was invented here, but then they had to bring it over to China because China allows certain things that America won't allow here.
Oh. Well, all I know is my
Think about it.
my grandpa had the Louisa May Alcott house because I went to visit because God had Nehemiah repent for the sins of his ancestors before he could build Jerusalem, and I was supposed to learn something. Well, I thought my grandpa had this house before her. It's like a T, and he had this, and then she had it on that. And he had tents for the Native Americans, and barred them in at night, gave them work, and they came and busted in, brought them to Deer Island, which was like a concentration camp. He said the sins during the war, he said the sins here are worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, but he was an outspoken attorney. Of course, when he did the negotiation at Princeton Rock to get her back, a pastor's wife back from them, then he's the big hero because the whites look good. So all I knew is there's lots of cover-up. If all these people are covering, they knew this whole Louis May Alcott house was something bigger in history than that, and they won't say one thing about it. But then I know I've gone to the redlining and research things, But Rick Joyner said he saw the best coming out of both parties. It will be the church, and it will be a pillar, and it will be victorious. But he said the price will be as big as the revolution. So you kind of know the opposition you get for exposing things that aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'll be a big divide in the future, but it'll be for the better.
Well, yeah. As in the days of Noah, so shall it be. Everyone didn't have housing. This one woman, she was called to fast and pray for the Yom Kippur War, 40 days on the same bread Ezekiel did. She had a heart condition, 3 little boys, husband. She had to feed them these 40 days, and she did this fast, 1 piece of bread a day. And at the end, the cities that he said would stand stood, and the cities said would fall fell. He had said on Yom Kippur, Israel will be attacked by Syria and Egypt. Extreme spiritual warfare will be involved. Millions of lives at stake according to obedience or disobedience. So she did that, and then she had a second thing the Lord showed her. She was walking the streets of America, and she turned the corner, and a mother was eating her own child, like in Lamentations. And God said, it gave her 3 verses. That one, Lamentations, Habakkuk, this is for the set the appointed time. And the third one, shall the priests and the prophets be slain in the tabernacle set apart for the worship of the Lord. So she was devastated, and he gave her the recipe for this. Ezekiel's bread for manna for God's people for the difficult times ahead. God's people praying and fasting will change the world, he said. But whatever your assignment is,
What a great way to die, huh? What a glorious way to die, upside down on a cross.
John Piper, he's all big on filling up the martyr roll call,
Well, I mean,
No, I mean, I
it's not like you
appreciate it.
intentionally go out and try to be a martyr, but when you
Earth is
say
flat.
masks do nothing and cause illness and sickness, people want to martyr you and they want to murder you. So this place hates the truth, especially women nowadays. Zoomers, they hate it. They think they can just overrun men all day and every day. And that's why a lot of people are going to be single. That's why they have these identifications and these classes of inclusivity. I'm cisgender, I'm demigender, I'm, this or that. And so everybody can be a type so that they don't actually have to go back to who they are, which is why Flat Earth is so important.
Yeah.
If people think that they grew up on a globe, do you think people live on Flat Earth? They would walk around and think they're a guy and they really are a woman?
So when they say they're showing these pictures, they're not real?
No, they're not.
So what do you think?
They're just CGI interpretations of a light in the sky that's a resonant frequency. Do you know what cymatics is?
No.
Look up what cymatics are.
I have my own plate of stuff I have to deal with. It's really a lot, and I don't get into everything.
Well, I mean, I think it's very important
Don't take it as
to,
an insult.
No, but I think to dismiss it before you even look into it.
No, it's just you got to know.
It's
I've got my
interesting.
stuff in safety deposit boxes because they take it where I'm staying, and I'm always planning on moving, and I'm always getting ready to have the least and the least. But
So you think you're just kind of content where you're at? You're just like, hey, I got Jesus. I don't have to do anything.
no, I get prayer.
You don't have to learn
assignments.
anything more.
I've had prayer assignments about attacks on America.
But you don't want to learn
Israel.
anything. You don't actually want to learn real things.
Well,
you
God
talk
has
about
me
like Roth or
available
whatever,
for
like
him
he's
as
some
an
prophet.
intercessor, and he gives
He's
me
not.
assignments.
He's not an intercessor. Jesus is your intercessor.
He gives me assignments to stand in the gap for people that can't or won't make a stand. That's an intercessor.
Yeah, so make a stand.
I
But
do.
stop believing that Earth is a globe and outer space is real. Because you will find that it probably is attached to a lot of your beliefs about things.
Well, I'm open to it. It's just,
Well, you asked me about outer space and what it is, and I try to explain to you, and you're like, I'm so busy. It's like,
well,
so
no,
you don't
gotta
actually
know.
want to
Just
know
that-
anything.
Just
So.
my rent getting there, I went USPS to a whole thing, and they never claimed getting
You
it.
can't tell me that you don't have a couple hours a month to look at interesting things that may change your life.
I might down the road,
So-
but right now it's not what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I gotta
okay,
be honest.
great.
Like you're not looking up the Yahweh's recipe, YHVH recipe, because it's not what you're interested in right now.
What would that be?
That's the bread for the famine coming. And
How do you know I'm not fasting?
no, this is a perfect protein balance for your body.
No, you don't know anything about me. You don't know what I can and can't eat,
Well,
or
it's
how
like
much
manna
calories
to
I
the-
need and
manna
things
to the
like that.
children of Israel for the difficult
Yeah.
times they had.
Fine.
Remember they complained about manna and God gave them
Yeah.
quail, answered their prayer, and slew the fattest of them.
Sure. Yeah. The Lord loves sacrifice more than loves obedience more than sacrifice.
Yeah. And I have to be faithful
So-
in my messes. I have messes.
Yeah, that's
okay?
fine. Maybe by the very last in a short time, all of your things will be healed, and you can look into truth. But sooner or later, you just have to stop doing things and just let the Lord be, and then let you be, so then you can venture off into more tangible ideals.
I do. I keep the Sabbath day. I was reading and praying all day yesterday.
Great.
And I would pride myself
And I
on
can
it.
still find time to look up other things too.
Yeah, there's a million
That's why I
things
come out
could
here.
do research on.
What would you set up a table for if you could?
I don't think that way. I bring stuff to where there's pain.
Yeah, I
In
do
the-
too.
in the little
That's what I'm doing
libraries,
right now.
I bring books to those where there's pain
Okay.
pockets, I call it.
What kind of books are these?
Well, they can be all kinds. Bible, they can be A's for Apple Kids, but as much truth as I can get in just because of what my heart is.
Mm.
So I served handicapped when I was in Israel, and mothers of handicapped made it easier for them in their home. And
How is sharing Jesus in Israel for you?
I served the believers a lot.
Okay, so
One
you didn't,
ha-
you
one
didn't
had
talk
their-
to any Orthodox Jews about
One,
Jesus?
no,
in
one had
Isaiah
their own
53 or
child
anything like
blown
that?
up by a bomb. I brought things to, and I couldn't say anything because I couldn't. But the wife did say, "You're the only one that gets in touch with our pain," so that was a good compliment for me. People would say, "You go there, or you were just in the most dangerous place in this country." mission conference, Jackie Pullinger jabbed these guys she brought from China because God called her to the walled city and pointed at me. And God has me try to be where He has me, just to be obedient. And I'm trying to narrow down.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a cot, I have 2 chairs. I'm a Native American up north wants them, but I have to figure out how to find her and get them to her because her cousins work on them.
So you say you're pretty content and comfortable where you're at?
It's not comfortable. It's just where I am supposed to be right now until God leads me somewhere else.
What if you're there where you're at just because you never feel like anyone's saying anything to you? Do you think you'll just remain idle?
I never what?
Do you think like you'll just like it'll be 10 years later and you're like, well, I'm just waiting for that phone call from him to move or do something
No,
else?
I'm narrowing everything down so it'll be as easy as possible. Whatever. Believe me, the inner city isn't a bed of roses. I don't know where you live, but
Yeah, are you going to like reduce your amount of money that you spend and like minimalize your life? Is that something you could
I
look
told
into?
you I have a cot. I have 2 chairs I'm giving away and a folding table from IKEA.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I don't have any dressers or anything like that. I am a minimalist.
Great.
My daughter's husband's a contractor. I'd love to see him make houses into just a miniature space for someone else.
Like a tiny house or something?
Well, even just a portion of it. But they got blended families. They got their own things going, and I'm just trying to be obedient. Oh yeah, I'm doing my thyroid research right now on iodine.
Okay.
There's a doctor in Alaska where 2 of my sons live, and I'm thinking of contacting him because he thinks it's very important for your thyroid.
What do you think about distilled water?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's great. I use it in everything.
Well,
Very important.
even when you get it in a plastic container.
Well, you mean you got to compromise, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm just learning. I bought it once. You know, right now I just put mine through this filter thing, which probably isn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, people get angry about that then they never clean out their filter when they distill water at home. So it's like, okay, well, it's not really. They're like, well, you drink out of plastic, and it's like, well, I mean, the most fluoride or city water I get is when I take a bath or a shower and brush my teeth. Otherwise, I just looked into consciousness and thought with water, and distilled water is the best mechanism to use to think through and to have your thought kind
I
of
heard that's
swim
what they
in.
use in Israel.
Is distilled water.
Well, I guess.
I would give if I were king of the forest, I'd give all my people distilled water.
Oh, king of the forest.
You get all your minerals and vitamins from fruits and vegetables.
Oh yeah.
You can always chat about it, Now, instead of confirmation bias, you could always ask the horse's mouth, right? Like some tough guy who just says, yeah, it's funny, huh?
Well, it's funny. You're different than any person I've ever met.
Well, I can only be myself, right?
So how did you get into your flat earth?
I've always been curious about this place, and just timing and.
So you know
things.
about Satanism then?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's just
It's all over the TV.
this
Truth in plain sight
Yeah.
is what they call it.
this woman. She was a doctor, and God called her to reach the Satanists, and she was going to be a cancer doctor, but
Interesting.
he said, "You don't have to do this. I'll bless you if you want."
Oh yeah, is that how many vaccines you got? Just the one, huh?
So she had witches coming to her and say people were putting curses on her in the hospital. And she never heard of that. She was from a conservative Christian home, and
Well, he's
her
taking a
mother
break
never
now.
cut her hair. So, but then what was the next thing then I know, like a UFO came down by her.
Well, of course it did.
And the Lord said, don't engage, and she did. And then her car stopped. So
Got
she...
some talk down.
Hi.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Oh, are you already know
Yeah.
each other?
No, yes. I'm gonna go watch the news.
Oh yeah.
Back.
Let us know.
Thank you.
Let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
You should, if you message me on Instagram, I can share your videos and stuff because I can't access my phone.
I don't have Instagram, but okay.
Mm,
Maybe sometime.
yeah.
Essential workers, that's another thing. They're not essential.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah. Days of Noah was good. The video.
Oh yeah,
That was really good.
Days of Noah's
Oh yeah,
incredible.
the Days of Noah's. Yeah, that I shared.
Breaks it all down.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah. And did you hear about the Spike Lee documentary?
Yeah,
Spike Lee documentary.
yeah, we'll cover that.
Okay.
What's that about?
Yeah. Spike Lee is doing a new documentary. Apparently now he's been shown some evidence that the towers were collapsed, not by planes.
Well,
So-
I've heard that before. I mean, I heard a general said there weren't any wing marks. It couldn't have happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
the first. Are you ridiculous? You're ridiculous.
But my brother said in the Lord, he did this 40-day fast in 88, and God said severe judgments are coming on America. I'm holding them back briefly. And he saw 9/11. But it doesn't mean there's not corruption from within that does stuff. So I'm not, I don't try to keep up with all of it. Like Trump's guy coming out of the 666 office, I don't know why, he's
Yeah.
coming out of there.
Just so happens.
It's like Hitler. He was instrumental in Israel being established as a state, but it's not like I was pro-Israel, but I mean pro-Hitler. It's like it says, "Unsearchable are God's judgments, His ways past finding out." So you have to be humble sometime, because then 33 nations voted in that land for the Jews because that's what I don't know. Some might have known by the Bible, but some might have just thought practical for a homeland. But the point is, he said at that time, God said severe judgments coming on America. I'm holding them back briefly because Jews haven't had ample warning. Go to Israel if you love them, warn them, even if they hate you, even if they think you're crazy. And he's seen worse coming on America. And so,
Well, we're definitely on some stolen land,
yeah,
so there's that.
yeah.
And those people who originally lived here, everything was taken from them
Yeah.
that they had
Believe
before.
me, I try to serve. I mean, this one intercessor book, it's Binding the Strong Man Over America, and this is the rough version. But these intercessors were led to give something like 350, I don't know if it was 1,000 or what, 100 in medical supplies to a reservation. And this prophet, I've heard him in Israel, he said, this is going to stop an attack from the United States. And the next day on the news, 3 planes coming in with bombs from England were stopped. But sometimes that's kind of one form of intercession. You find out about attacks, but they did works meet for repentance, because all the pain that has been caused to the Native Americans. It's not any giving counts or, But the point is, he's seen a lot to do with changing things to do with the Native Americans. And someone else, he's Dave Herzog. He has lots of miracles happen, and I think he does something with them down about certain healing things too, but he has lots of miracles happen. He said when it gets bad, the Jews are going to be on the reservation. A Native American from, what do you call it, not Pine Ridge, the other one, said, right down there, said, now I've heard everything the Jews on our reservations. But no one can imagine it's going to get this big. I mean, most people can't imagine.
No, I don't think we've seen on TV or the movies what is waiting for us on the other side of this, especially for America. We've had it so good.
Yeah, like John Piper
so
says,
long.
America's a big Disneyland. Well,
Yeah, it really is. You get to do whatever you want here. And that's good for some and that's bad for others. Some people need a type of person to kind of do the woe straps for them a little bit, and just a reminder, like, okay, if we want in our society this or that, then we're going to have to cut out this or this type of lifestyle or idealism. And a lot of people have grown so accustomed to the way that we think and freedom is everything. I get that, but also you know, a person's continual freedom to choose certain ways that would then line up with socialism, communism, or government, those need to be addressed. And there needs to be some proper education as a youth in how to discern propaganda from other countries. And we're seeing it right now. I can only do so much and inform people about propaganda and things like that, but, you know, there needs to be an example out in a place where people just think they're able to relax out in public like this. And then there's this, oh, would Jesus wear a mask question.
Well, this one guy said he saw martial law coming to 4 cities. One was Dallas, and Rick Joyner said he also goes within when they take away our guns. But he saw
they're not taking away our guns. Who said that?
The one that said the church would arise as a pillar, but the price will be as big as the revolution. So I don't try to figure it all out, you know. But the Ezekiel bread, part of it is some are martyrs, but some go through victorious. So the one woman, actually she was told where to dig for a well, the one that got the book in Florida, and where to, for the time of the mark of the beast. And I thought, well, I don't know how that will be, but
there he is, smiling.
Everybody has their own.
Good to see people smiling out here. Laughing.
So where are you from?
Here, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Always?
Yeah, I was born in Fairmont by Iowa in '81, and then I've lived in Minneapolis.
So did you know, how long did you live in Fairmont? Did you know anyone?
Very briefly for a couple of months because I was born there, and then my mom moved up here because of
yeah.
health complications that I had.
Oh. So do you have a dad, or?
Of course I do.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a mom and dad to have a baby.
Well, you just said your mom moved up here. So.
Yes. Yeah, I do. He lives in Alexandria, but he was dating somebody at the time.
Oh.
So she felt like, you know, as a way to keep him around, she would have me. And then, ta-da! I have a terminal illness. And then it's like, oh, crap. So, wish things were better, you know, but sometimes you have to find family outside of your blood family.
Believe me, I thank God for Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and the fellowship of his suffering, which is far better what I can bring into someone else than what I think I need.
How we doing?
Doing good.
Catch anything cool on your GoPro?
Everything.
Yeah? Anybody?
Humankind is fascinating.
Live.
They
Flat
certainly
Earth
are.
matters because they are hiding more land.
Yeah, why not?
What's it about?
Well, you can only have so much land on a ball Earth that the government claims to have measured. But I think Earth goes on infinitely forever, you know.
Yeah.
So there's probably more land out here or outside of the ice wall. But I'd love to go to the North Pole personally.
I've come to the conclusion that nothing really exists. We think it's here, but it's really not. It's all about perception.
Yeah, to an
I found that out
extent.
in
But
Buddhism.
but you're still not gonna jump off a cliff to like Groundhog's Day to see if you wake
Everything
up
is-
the next morning in your bed, right?
Everything is perfect, exactly as it is, no matter what happens.
Right,
Or
but I'm
that's
saying
what
you do have rationale, so
Yeah.
there is a semblance of things are real.
The beauty of the United States
So-
is you can believe pretty much anything you want.
Well, you
And you
can,
can
but
talk
facts
about
are great. Don't you love facts, sir?
What's that?
Don't you love facts?
I'm
Do
not
you love
into
it?
high tech.
You don't love objective reality? You just like everything to be subjective?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to understand reality. I mean,
Okay. Do
my
you have to
time-
understand reality by doing and committing murder and raping children and
Well, what you do
putting
is
vaccines in people?
seekers-
Is that how you experience?
Seekers become genuine finders through critical examination, like I'm critically examining what you have to offer, and personal experience.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to go up about 150 miles, I might come
So
to a
you're not
different
as deep in the
conclusion
research as him?
that the Earth is flat.
How would you get up to 150
say-
miles?
I don't know,
We all have
astronauts do, unless you don't
different
believe that
beliefs,
they
like
really
everyone-
exist, but
I
into
think they exist,
a
but
lot
they're
of
playing a
different
type or a
topics
role
before
for you to believe that they did what
I
you think
figured
you
out
can
a
do
lot
also.
before I figured this
would
out.
Jesus
Then I
get a
figured out
booster
how
shot?
Yeah, what do you think?
everything fits together.
I think
It's
probably
not all
not.
Okay,
not
yeah.
everything is separated.
What about wear a
I
mask?
don't
Do you think he'd
think
wear a
I-
mask in
it's
Target?
Like if you knew how many papers I could take and just get my check in and
No, I think
go
he
to
kind of
the
lets
place.
go and lets God, you know.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Attorneys told me don't live there, don't
But,
volunteer there.
Do
Yeah, you
you
got-
do you wear a mask in Target
Oh,
or
no.
Whole Foods?
Oh, no.
What about the
This is what
jab? Do
they're
you think,
trying to hide.
are you going to get the
No,
jab?
With all the conspiracies, with all distractions.
There's gonna
it's
be,
all because they don't want you to figure this out.
Why?
problems
don't want
down
you
the
to figure
line
them out.
because
I know, but why would
RNA is being
Because then
altered.
everything, because
yeah.
every
As a
system
matter of
that
fact,
man
there
has
are
created
some reputable
doesn't
people that
actually
claim that
do
everybody
anything for
that's
us.
getting the jab
It's all
can
to
be
keep
dead in
us
3 to
in the
5
dark.
years.
That's what I've heard.
And it's all to
Very
But anyhow, who knows?
It's not actually.
Who knows?
That's
I mean, I don't want to curse
interesting.
people, right?
It's all to hide.
I don't want to
this.
curse people, but how about
Well, that's
this?
why I tried to
You
do
know,
a little bit
you're
more
not going to get it
knowledge.
because of you're
That's
informed, sounds like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Spiritual.
Stick with my
The flu
yes,
is
I
the
guess.
flu. I
Yeah.
went through the
Yeah.
Asian flu in 1957. 1.1 million died. They didn't shut things down. They didn't
But so,
try
for
to
instance, like-
develop
Oh,
a
I
vaccine.
forgot.
Society wasn't ready for that. They weren't
No,
malleable.
exactly.
They weren't
Take
propagandized
it and
enough
go
on.
with it, you know. The chances of being infected are relatively low, very low, and of dying from it are extremely low.
Well, this one
Just let it
doctor
run
at
its
the
course.
U
Let it
actually,
do its thing.
This guy told me.
Yeah,
this is
well, I
friend,
mean, the same
he
people
said,
that are pushing the jab and the
when this
mask
first came
tell you
out,
that the
he
Earth
said,
is a
you
ball
know,
in outer
Oh,
and
space,
they
sure.
say all
too.
these
Well,
people
not
are
all
dying
of them.
from
Well,
it. They're
there's
not.
varied
They're dying
beliefs.
from the flu, but
Yeah,
they get
but,
more
outer
money
space
if
isn't
they
real.
say it's
I hope
COVID.
what you find what you're
This was
looking
a
for.
doctor
I've already
at
found it.
HCMC
Good.
that told them.
I'm
You're
here.
pretty
That's
young,
why
you
I'm
know.
here.
So it's like I know
You're-
there's a lot
you're
of
ahead of
lies
my
and cover up, but I
rate
know,
of coming to an
that's all I can do to
understanding,
keep
but
up with
keep
my
at it. It'll
Well-
take you a
I have
lifetime.
7
Well, I'm a lot older than you
kids
think I
and
am,
grandkids,
and that's
and
why I
I-
think I can get away with a lot more
That's all I
than
can do
other
to
people can.
detach from
So,
whatever.
Yeah.
I can't explain.
You're raising some
That
awareness
domestic
here.
abuse
I think
is
so. I mean, you got to know where you are or you're lost.
Yep. Now when I pedal by here, then I don't have to be curious what
Yeah.
who's manning
Some
this
weird thing like
station
that.
here and,
Yeah, well-
what they have to offer. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was at a
and,
big Christian place.
I mean, is it possible
When I
that there's
came
more
back-
land that they're hiding, or have we discovered it all?
You know,
like I said, you know, nothing really
the
exists.
president's
I think
mother
we're in
was
the
my
mind
friend.
of,
Bird came
to
in my
me,
room.
Einstein said it
Seven.
well. He said the deep
Like that,
emotional
someone
conviction
else
of the
says.
presence
But
of
I
a
can tell I
superior
gotta put on
reasoning
screens.
power,
I
which
went
is
to
revealed by
environmental
our
health. How do I tell them they gotta put
incomprehensible
on
universe,
screens?
forms my
Well,
idea of
they
God.
said he
So
looked
I
it up.
believe
I
we're
thought,
in
what
the
do you have to
mind
look
of
up? I
God.
just gotta tell 'em.
And whatever
What
we're
license to
experiencing
rooms,
is what
what
he,
license to have.
when I say
I don't
he,
know,
it's because,
bed,
you know, that's
build or
traditionally
whatever, and then I'm the
patriarchal.
big
I think it's a he.
But
government whistleblower.
existence
Yeah.
itself is
I
God to
wasn't
me.
even
Sure, but there is tangible
Yeah.
things,
So
right?
believe me, this isn't fun.
It seems that way.
Okay, so if it seems
Other
that
stuff.
way, what is more
Yeah.
reasonable?
The
That
only thing
water,
that-
when
Try to do
contained,
everything
lays
and
level
turn
and
on
flat
me and
when
make
at
me look
rest,
like I'm something I'm
or
not,
that it
and
curves and makes a
just
ball
where I live.
in outer
But
space?
it's
Which is
funny
more
because
reasonable?
Well,
it's totally
the
different as
scientists,
far as
their
food,
minds
so-
are being
Oh,
played
yeah.
with by this
Well,
existence.
whatever the word for it.
You know,
Yeah.
they don't have any humility.
Passionate about.
A lot of arrogance there.
Yeah.
They learn a little bit and they think they know everything.
Well, everyone is
But there's
walking
one
around the
problem
lake
that they
here,
run
you know,
into.
they're very content.
First of all, they
think
can't
that
explain
walking
consciousness.
around the lake and
The second thing they
not
can't
talking
explain
to anyone they
is why the
encounter
galaxies don't
is
fly
totally
apart.
normal.
They're
think
saying
that's
there's
totally
something
normal.
out there. They don't even know
What's
what
magic?
it is.
It's
Dark
called gravity.
matter.
No,
Magic.
I always
around
talk
them.
to
Magic
students
is
to
gravity.
Yeah.
people.
Well, God is a magician.
for instance-
He's making
Well, I'm
us
saying that
think
they,
that we're
what I'm
something.
saying is
They
that
don't
they
even
use
look into
gravity
people's
as a way to
eyes.
explain the
What they've done is
impossible
they
to a rational human
dehumanize
being.
each other.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they-
Yeah, they're trying
sometimes
to
they're
make
So,
so
sense.
busy
what's your name?
at their work too, you
Ted.
gotta realize
Joshua.
sometimes
Joshua,
this is
pleased to
their
meet you,
quiet
Joshua.
system
Yeah, what if the
brain
sun
for some-
moved and the Earth was
So it's
stationary
not
like that
always
and
the
just moved
same,
like a
you know.
clock
Yeah. But that's
around the
just it,
center North Pole?
is that people have been
And
absorbed
the sun
into
is a
their work,
positive
They
and the moon is a
forget
negative, and it's
what
just like
life is actually about.
Well, I mean, it might be
electromagnetics in the
people,
sky.
people, problems,
You're making it very
empty
complicated.
out
That's very easy.
the whole thing.
Because
I just-
it's,
So where are
it's
you
complicated to
from?
think
I'm
that
from
the
here,
Earth is spinning
Minneapolis.
this way, and that's why the
Born
sun
and
is
raised.
going this way,
Hey,
sir.
Yep.
Existence right now.
So I've
Well, I think you're
It's making
denying.
us-
I think you're
it's
denying this very
a lot of
simple,
adversity.
rational idea that the Earth
So
is
I-
flat, because you have to add
welcome
math and
adversity,
everything
you know.
else and gravity to
Adversity
make
in what
yours
sense?
The only
your
thing-
belief system here.
Adversity,
The
like
only
Do you believe
just
you live here on a solar
not
system
being
on the
privileged,
bending of space-time?
so-called,
Oh, yeah.
to living
Come on,
outside
sir.
the
I believe that
city,
we
going
think we
to
do.
you know,
Well, you don't.
Christian
We're
schools
We're taught
where
that.
people are
We're
mostly
taught that.
Christian.
No, you don't.
They don't have to
Try
deal with
the ends together.
obstacles.
You didn't do that?
No, I had to overcome every obstacle obstacle, every single hurdle.
So try to tie them together. And
No one was there.
Yeah,
No,
keep your chin up, Ted.
for instance, no one in
Don't
my
wear a
high
mask,
school was
right?
Christian.
Never.
It was Washburn.
Oh, yeah. How about his?
There we go.
I
At least
have
we
no
can high
clue.
five about
What
that.
school did you go to in the city?
Buffalo,
Oh, you went outside the city, Buffalo?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Minnesota. It's like 20 minutes that way.
That's where my grandson's starting to do his law stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He has a job there, but
Where?
at the courthouse there.
Where?
Buffalo?
Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. It's a nice area. It's still farmland for the time being.
so have you ever seen your dad?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hmm.
So where's he?
Alexandria.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
So is he like friendly with you and everything?
Yeah, I mean we talk, but you know, my views are very challenging for him.
Oh yeah.
Hmm. I think they're vaxxed.
So what's he into?
He grew up in Utah. His family is Mormon,
Mhm.
so then he moved here, and he doesn't really want anything to do with like that type of thought. But he's interested in spirituality. His wife kind of makes him go to church, but he's kind of
Which kind of church?
wishy-washy. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
You know. Certainly isn't Pentecostal, because I couldn't see him hooping and hollering, you know, waving the flag or anything.
Well,
But
no one does that in any Pentecostal church.
well, you haven't gone to the right Pentecostal churches
No,
then.
the point is, it's funny because I'm reading this guy called David Duplessis to go to the other side, and he got disfellowship from the Assembly of God, and because he was to bring Pentecost to the other denominations, old, big, and he said, well, God, I don't believe the way they believe. I can't justify it. God said, I never called you to justify him. I called you to love your enemy. And so,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like the more.
then they left everything in Africa to go around the world and do this. I heard him at the World Conference on the Holy Spirit, but it's funny because his wife said, here we are, we have nothing. But and everything with him's just great because God would provide then, you know. It challenges me because I kind of am called to go to some place that I really don't. I'm not going to say the whole thing, but anyway, the point is, different things help me.
Well, what's very interesting is that all the vaxxers are the ones that hate their enemy the most. Like if you're not vaccinated, they have
I
more
don't
of
want
a
to interrupt,
problem.
but I don't want to forget.
you.
Did you know why Biden just blew up at Obama?
No, they just recently. I saw he fell asleep at a meeting yesterday.
Biden?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was something about the COVID.